Sally, a little girl, had always been fascinated by creepy things and paranormal creatures and stories. One day, she was playing in her home when her dad entered the room where her mom was in the kitchen and whispered, "We have to move to another house this weekend." Sally overheard the conversation, and her parents eventually came to tell her. She was upset and tearfully exclaimed, "This is the 5th time you guys are doing this." After a few days, they packed their belongings and moved to a new house located in a silent area of Blackwood. In the same city, Sally was disheartened because she wanted to stay in the same house and make friends in the neighborhood. As she explored her new home, which was constructed from aged wood, she discovered an old attic. Sally's dad mentioned that this would be the second last time they would change homes, and after that, they'd finally settle in a permanent one. In the days following their move to the eerie wooden house in the silent Blackwood neighborhood, sinister events began to unfold. Sally, despite her initial resistance, couldn't resist the temptation to explore the enigmatic attic she had discovered. One ominous night, with the wind howling outside, Sally and her parents were startled by faint, spine-chilling whispers echoing through the house. They couldn't discern the words, but the eerie murmurs sent shivers down their spines. Following the haunting sounds, they found themselves standing outside the attic door, which creaked open of its own accord, revealing a narrow, dimly lit staircase leading into the pitch-black unknown. With trepidation, the family ascended the stairs, compelled by an unnatural force. At the top, they stumbled upon a chilling sight. A man, drenched in blood from head to toe, stood there, his eyes empty and lifeless. His presence paralyzed the family with fear, and they frantically retreated downstairs. As days turned into nights, the voices in the house grew louder, and the atmosphere grew colder, as if death itself was seeping through the walls. Each night, desperate pleas and mournful wails filled the air, and the very foundations of the house seemed to weep. Sally's initial fascination with the paranormal had now transformed into sheer terror. One fateful morning, while venturing into the woods around the house, Sally stumbled upon a hidden, overgrown cemetery. The tombstones were worn and forgotten, some even missing. Amongst the graves, she discovered a decrepit tombstone with the name Lucas Blackwood. The sinister coincidence between this name and their new home left a haunting chill down her spine. Driven by a morbid curiosity, Sally and her parents began to research the house's history. The truth they uncovered was horrifying. Lucas Blackwood, a recluse with an obsession for the occult and dark rituals, had once resided there. The locals spoke in hushed tones about his malevolent experiments, which had only fueled the malevolent spirits that now haunted the house. Desperate to escape the terrors that plagued them, the family made frantic preparations to leave. Just as they were about to depart, they discovered a concealed compartment within the attic's floor. Inside, they uncovered a decaying corpse, the remains of a long-forgotten victim of Lucas Blackwood's sinister machinations. The shocking revelation sent a wave of dread through their very souls, and they fled the house, never to return. Blackwood House would forever remain a place of fear and despair, a cursed abode haunted by the tortured spirits who had fallen prey to Lucas Blackwood's dark obsessions, leaving behind a bone-chilling legacy for anyone who dared to enter its damned walls. Amelia had always been intrigued by the attic of her grandparents' old Victorian house. The place was steeped in history, and her grandmother would often share tales of strange occurrences in the attic. One rainy afternoon, curiosity got the better of her. She ascended the rickety stairs, the only source of light being the dim, dusty windows. As she stepped onto the attic's creaky wooden floor, she noticed an old, forgotten doll propped up against a cobweb-covered chest. The doll had once been beautiful, with porcelain skin and a lacy dress, but now it was worn and eerie. Amelia felt a strange connection to it. She couldn't resist the urge to pick it up, and as she did, the attic seemed to come to life. Whispers filled the air, and shadows danced on the walls. The doll's porcelain eyes seemed to follow her every move. A chilling sensation crept over her, and she quickly placed the doll back where she found it. As she retreated down the attic stairs, the whispers followed her, fading only once she reached the lower floors. That night, as Amelia lay in bed, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She tossed and turned, but sleep eluded her. In the dead of night, she heard faint, ghostly giggles, as if a child was playing in the attic. Terrified, she forced herself to ignore it. The next morning, she ran to the attic to get rid of the sinister doll. To her horror, it was nowhere to be found. Amelia knew that something was terribly wrong. The house once a sanctuary, had turned into a place of terror. As days passed, the attic whispers grew louder, and ghostly apparitions began to manifest throughout the house. Amelia's grandparents, unaware of the haunting, began acting strangely, their personalities altered by an unseen malevolence. Desperate to break the curse, Amelia sought out a local historian who revealed the dark history of the doll. It had been owned by a girl who had tragically died in the attic many years ago. Her restless spirit was now bound to the doll. Seeking revenge for her untimely demise, Amelia realized that she had to return the doll to its resting place in the attic, but it wouldn't be easy. She had to confront the vengeful spirit and unravel the mystery behind her death. The attic, once a place of curiosity, had become a battleground between the living and the dead. Rebecca and David had always been drawn to the mysterious attic of their new home. A converted Victorian mansion, the attic had a haunting aura, with its vintage trinkets and eerie paintings. But there was one item that sent chills down their spines, an ancient mirror with an ornate, tarnished frame. One evening, as a thunderstorm raged outside, they decided to explore the attic. The mirror beckoned to them, reflecting their curious faces. They were startled when they heard faint, echoing whispers emanating from the mirror's depths. The whispers grew louder, their words indecipherable. David touched the mirror's surface, and a sharp pain shot through his hand. A chilling gust of wind rushed through the attic, extinguishing the candles they had brought with them. As their heartbeats quickened, they watched in terror as shadowy figures manifested within the mirror. The figures beckoned them, their voices growing more insistent. Panic surged through Rebecca and David, and they fled from the attic, leaving the mirror behind. That night, their dreams were plagued by haunting visions of the attic and the mirror. They woke up to the feeling of being watched. In the dark corners of their room, they glimpsed shadowy figures lurking. The whispers from the attic continued to echo in their ears, even during the daylight hours. Desperate to uncover the mirror's secret, Rebecca delved into the mansion's history. She discovered that the mirror had belonged to a family who had once lived there, and it was rumored to be a portal to a malevolent dimension. They returned to the attic, determined to confront the mirror's sinister power. As they approached it, their reflections twisted and contorted, revealing grotesque, nightmarish versions of themselves. The whispers grew into screams, and the mirror's surface rippled as if it were liquid. In a daring move, Rebecca smashed the mirror, shattering it into countless pieces. The attic fell into an eerie silence, and the shadowy figures vanished. But the mirror's curse was far from broken. The shattered pieces of the mirror possessed a life of their own, each fragment containing a fragment of the malevolent dimension. As the shards scattered throughout the house, they unleashed a wave of terror, trapping Rebecca and David in a nightmarish realm of their own creation. The attic, once a place of mystery, had become the gateway to a hellish dimension, and they were now trapped in a world where their nightmares had become horrifyingly real.